It's time for Business Minds Coffee Chat, an inspiring show about the journey to personal and professional growth. And now, your host, Jay Shear.
Hey everyone, you're listening to Business Minds Coffee Chat, and I am your host, Jay Shear, and I am super excited today. I have got a wonderful guest in the studio with me. My guest today is from Flagler County. He went to Flagler Palm Coast High School, earned his undergrad degree from UNF, and received his master's degree from FSU, and recently earned his Juris Doctor from FSU. He's the Director of Sales and Marketing at the Windsor, and when he's not working, you'll likely find him boating and spending quality time with family. Please welcome the amazing Daryl Boyer. Daryl, it is great to see you. Thank you so much for being here today.
It's so good to be back and, in your presence, and it's always great to see you.
Absolutely. Likewise. And I'm really excited about today's conversation. I first of all, I know it's going to be a good one. And I figured a good starting point for us would be for you to maybe share 2 or 3 words that you would use to describe yourself.
Determined, kind, and funny.
I like that. Okay.
I think
great.
I have a good sense of humor.
You definitely do. So determined, kind, and funny. All right. I love that. Those are 3 great descriptive words. So I'd like you to pick one of those 3 and give all of us an example of maybe a recent example of where one of those 3 words really comes to life for you.
So I'd say, the most out there one, I just recently ran for state representative to represent our local community. Mm-hmm. And I'd say from the beginning, with any big decision that people make in life, you're always going to have naysayers. And throughout that, no matter the outcome, I always told myself, no matter what, I'm going to win. And other people were like, no, you're either going to win or you're going to lose. And I said, no, it's a win-win, because I made a decision that 99% of the county, actually more than that, decided not to do. In that race, there were only 2 people running. And so myself and my opponent were the only ones that made that bold, courageous decision to put ourselves out there. And I commended, my opponent for doing that, because that takes a lot for one individual to do. And so I looked at it as a win-win. And I also thought that, no matter what, I'm putting my generation on a ballot. I'm also putting a local hometown person from our community on the ballot, giving our local community an option to choose. And I think throughout that whole process, I had to stay determined. I had to keep a level head on my shoulders, despite the negativity, despite what anybody was saying or doing behind my back, and people that I thought, were friends and ended up, not being friends. You have to remain determined, and you have to keep, God close with you throughout that whole entire process, because if you don't, you can quickly go off the beaten path and you can lose. Then it won't be a win-win. Then it will be a win or lose situation. And I think at the end of it, I came out better than I was before I made that decision to run. I'm a much better person. I'm stronger. I'm smarter and wiser. And I made a lot more friends, such as yourself, after that process. And I'm truly blessed.
So a couple of things that I'd love to explore with you there. First of all, the mindset. You have such a positive outlook on life in general. And the way that you worded this situation is an example that you were going to win. It was going to be a win no matter what the outcome was.
Correct.
So take us back a bit. Is that positive outlook and that positive mindset, is that something that you've always had? Is that something that you've had to curate within yourself? So speak to that for just a moment.
I would say both. I had a very unfortunate upbringing that most people don't get to experience, fortunately. But I went through foster care, and I had some tough early childhood upbringings. However, a family that's been nothing but loving and supportive adopted me. And my mother always told me, no matter what you go through in life, no matter what you've been through, every single person has gone through something challenging. Unfortunately, nobody cares. And at the end of the day, it's important to be somebody who makes everybody feel like somebody. And so I've lived by that my whole entire life. No matter where I go, no matter what room I'm in, I always try to make everybody in that room feel like they are somebody, because you never know what they're going through. But what I do know is that we've all been through something, and the only thing that we can control is how we make other people feel and how we can uplift them and help them get across the finish line to be better versions of themselves. So no matter where I go throughout life, that's just what I always try to do, and that's what has always helped me. And what I hope to curate on other people is to just be somebody that makes everybody feel like somebody.
What a beautiful outlook and a wonderful way to show up to the world. And I've seen it in action, the way that you demonstrate that when I've seen you out and about. So it's not just words for you, it's really words coupled with action.
Correct.
Because that's truly where you bring it to life. So let's go back in time here a bit. So, at what age were you adopted
I was
by your
3.
family?
Yep,
3
I was
years
3.
old. Okay. Do you have many memories of life at that stage? Man, I know that's awfully young.
I do.
But,
yeah,
okay.
I do.
Share with us a little bit about that experience for you. I know it was a difficult time for you, but give us kind of a snapshot of what life was like for you then.
Yep. So I would say for many foster children, life oftentimes is lonely, also unstable. Mm-hmm. You're going from one foster home to another. There's always new families. There's always new people in your life. And then you oftentimes travel to those different homes with a trash bag. And so you're always having other people's things. You're always having things donated to you. So you never have stuff of your own. So I think that those early years of my life, they can either make or break someone. And at some point in your life, you hit a fork in the road. You can either take a left, you can take a right, and you have to decide who you want to be. And so I was so blessed to have been adopted at age 3 by a family that told me you can continue down the path that you were on prior to us adopting you, or you can accept us loving you, and we're going to help you be a better version of yourself. And my dad always told me, he never cared whatever I wanted to be when I grew up. He said, you can be a garbage man, you can be the president of the United States. I don't care. What I want you to be is be the best garbage man, be the best president, that whatever you're doing, just be the best. And also help other people be the best versions of themselves. And no matter where you go in life, bring as many people up to the top as possible, because that's what's going to make a difference in this world. And so I would say that those early childhood years, yes, they're unfortunate, but they really help mold me to who I am today. And it just really exemplifies the man that I am today, because I didn't let it define me, but I let it guide me in life. And that's what we all have a decision to make in life.
Beautifully said. Did you have any challenges or issues with trust early in life?
Yes and no, and still kind of the same now at this point in my life.
Okay.
I would say that I've always, obviously when you're growing up and you have an unstable childhood, and some people, are hard. They're like, oh my God, I can't trust anyone. Mm-hmm. I actually am probably the opposite. I actually gravitate towards people that are positive and optimistic, and I'm quick to trust them because I'm like, oh, they're such a great person. But I've had to learn throughout my life, just because someone is quote unquote fun and positive doesn't mean that they're trustworthy. And so I had to really, with age, I guess you would say, and experience with the life experiences that I've had so far, is that I had to find out the hard ways that just because someone's positive and telling you what maybe make you feel good and stuff doesn't mean that you can trust them. And so I would say it's the opposite effect, is that I probably grew up over trusting rather than pushing people away and not trusting them.
Interesting. So when you've run across individuals that you gave trust to and trust was broken, let's say, how do you personally deal with that? Yeah.
Well, I tell them it depends on how long, I guess, the relationship was. And I also had to learn, just because you may think that someone's your friend or your best friend or someone that you love doesn't necessarily mean that they think the same about you. And that's been one of the hard truths that I've had to find out. And I think everybody experiences that throughout life. But, I just wish them the best. And I say, unfortunately, this relationship is one-sided and we're unable to move forward. And so you have to go separate ways, because people like that are going to take and take and take until you mentally and physically can't give anymore. And you end up getting depressed or exhausted. And unfortunately, people like that are takers, and you have to be with people that fulfill you, where you can also fulfill them, you fulfill each other, and you climb up that ladder together throughout life's journey.
So speaking of fulfillment, when you look over your life's journey up to this point, what has been the most fulfilling aspect of your life, and what fills your cup today?
Yeah, I would say the biggest blessing of my life so far is being an uncle to my 8 nieces and nephews. Wow. They all call me Funkle D, which stands for the fun uncle. And so I know that I have a responsibility to impact their lives in a positive way. And so they know that they can trust me. They know that they can call on me at any time to show up for them, because that's what we are responsible to do in young children's lives, is to be a role model for them. And you never know, like what they're going through in their lives. And so it's reassuring for them to know that they can call on their uncle at any time when they may not feel comfortable talking to their parents or to their teacher or to anybody else in their life. And so I know that I have a responsibility to be a role model and have a positive impact on their life, and show them that, listen, one day I know that they'll be old enough to look back at my life and watch my campaign videos and know what I had to go through. I haven't shared that with them yet, because, they're still young. But one day they'll know, and they're going to look back and they're going to say, oh my God, I had no idea that my uncle went through foster care. He had to go through all of that adversity, and he too is, successful, or, he can still wake up every day and just try his very best. And I hope that will give them motivation to just do your best every single day and wake up. And no matter what you're going through or what life's challenges may throw your way, you too can do and be whatever you want to be in life.
Absolutely. Going back to foster care for just a moment, did you know your birth mother or birth father?
At that young age, yes. Now I don't keep in contact with any of them. I don't even know where they are or anything like that.
But did you have any siblings that were also adopted that you're aware of?
I did. So One of the cool things, when my parents adopted me, they found out that I had a little brother, and they didn't want to separate us. So my parents adopted us together so that we wouldn't be separated.
Wow.
Yeah. And so that's also been another cool blessing of mine. And he's a younger brother as well.
Amazing. So you had mentioned to me that you have 4 sisters and 1 brother.
1 brother, yeah.
So where do you fall in the age rank, if you will?
The second to youngest.
Second to youngest.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And are all the siblings close?
We are all very close. Yeah, we're all best. I mean, obviously we bicker and here and there have, like any siblings would, but we all grew up very close. We're still all best friends. We talk almost every single day. Actually, I think we do all talk every day. And that's been another big blessing, because not a lot of siblings can say that they have a strong bond with their siblings.
That is true. That is very true. So if you were to write your autobiography, what would be an appropriate title for that book?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. I'll have to think about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's okay. Well, we are going to take a break here in just a moment. And when we come back from that break, I would love it if you would share with us what you think a good title for that book would be.
Awesome.
Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right, my friends, we are going to take a brief break here to thank our amazing sponsors. You are listening to Business Minds Coffee Chat. Don't you go anywhere. We will be right back.
There's no business like show business like no business I know. Visit the Fitzgerald Performing Arts Center at Flagler Auditorium. We're about to release our new season of professional touring shows. Visit our website at flaglerentertainment.com. Sign up for our newsletter. You can be the first to know about our shows and special offers. And remember, every time you buy a ticket to a show, you support the performing arts in Flagler schools and you support our local economy.
Hey, it's Jay with Thomas Media Solutions. Join us every Monday night from 6 to 8 at Tortugas in Flagler Beach for the best live entertainment around. We do several rounds of general knowledge trivia. That means it's trivia for everyone. It just doesn't get any better than this. If you're looking for the best food, the best drinks, the best people, and the best entertainment around, Tortugas is the place to be. Make sure to get there early to get a seat. See you there.
Thank you so much for recommending us to your family and friends. When you need a 30, 60, or 90-minute massage, it's real easy to book your appointment online. MassageByNatalie.org. MassageByNatalie.org.
This is Jay Shear. Are you a business owner or entrepreneur trying to figure out how to improve and achieve greater results? If so, I'm speaking to you. I provide the tools, coaching, and accountability you need to gain clarity around your personal and professional goals, remove the excuses holding you back, build the mindset, leadership skills, and proven strategies to grow your business and become the best version of yourself. To learn more or to apply for my coaching services, call 904-236-0431 or visit JShearBusinessConsulting.com. All right, we're back. And again, you're listening to Business Minds Coffee Chat, and I am in the studio today with my very special guest, Daryl Boyer. We're having a great conversation, and we're going to keep that conversation going. So, Daryl, before we took the break, I had asked you what you think would be a good title for your autobiography if you were writing it. Any thoughts on that?
I'd probably call it something like Never Surrender or Keep Climbing.
Never Surrender or Keep Climbing. All right. So let's just say that the title was the second one that you just mentioned, the Keep Climbing.
Mm-hmm.
So what does the next mountain look like for you? So if you've been climbing up to this point and you're looking to continue to climb, what does that climb look like? What do you envision for yourself at this stage?
So, I'm 26. I just had a birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. I would say that this next chapter of my life, I'm almost 30. I was like, oh my God, no, I'm going to be 30 soon. I'd probably say, find a girlfriend and then get engaged and married and then start having, I'd probably want to get married at like 30 and then have kids after that, but we'll see. You never know. You can't plan life out like that. And then I'd say just continue serving the community and making a name for myself in my industry and just working on myself so that a way I can continue to give back. I think a lot of people don't realize I think a lot of people think that I just woke up one day and was like, I'm going to run for office. I've actually been serving our community years prior to that. It's just always been behind the scenes. I never was out really publishing or anything like that. That was just the first time that the public really saw me face forward, running a campaign.
So let's pull the curtain back a little bit. What was the very first thing that you did in serving the community that most people wouldn't even know about?
What was the first thing? I'm thinking all the way back to like elementary school, just donating to like food drives and stuff like that. And in middle school, in high school, I guess as recent, that my memory can recall. Mm-hmm. I actually worked, I did an initiative with the county to work with I don't know if you can remember Michelle Obama when she was first lady. She had an initiative. I can't remember what it was called. It was like Healthy Kids or something like that. And that really hurt a lot of students because the food quality went down. Yes, the food was quote unquote probably healthier, but the food quality was down when you think about what we had prior to. And being a kid that went through foster care, I knew, thank God I wasn't ever in K through 12 when I was going through foster care, but you still know that the other kids that are going through foster care, their meals that they depend on are that Monday through Friday, that breakfast and lunch during the school hours, and they may go home and not eat dinner. And their next meal is going to be breakfast that next day, and then on the weekends they're not eating. We have children like that in Flagler County. And so when I was in school, I worked with our food department. I don't know what you call them, but the school lunch ladies. Okay. We worked together, and we started an initiative to where we did after-school lunches. So the food that was left over, instead of it being thrown away, they would actually keep it, and then any kid after school can just come and grab a lunch to take home with them on the bus. That little initiative is just a step forward to helping food insecurity in the county. But then even step further, I worked with the county as well to improve our food quality, because when you're looking at that really being the only 2 meals that a kid is eating, and then that's really the quality that we're going to set for our students, I didn't think that that was fair. So we also helped try to improve the food quality as well throughout the school. So I was doing that behind the scenes. In school, I also, I think it was my sophomore year, I worked with the principal of Indian Trails now, Ryan Andrews.
Okay.
We help, I don't know if you know him. He's been a great role model of mine in my life. We helped start a positive, I think it was Bulldogs Bringing Up Grades. And so I remember I was never an all A student or AB honor roll. I was always like C's get degrees kind of kid in school.
Okay.
And so I always remember what it felt like when we would do the award ceremonies and all these kids were going up to get all A's and AB honor roll. And I was always the one just sitting down, not getting an award. That always just made me feel kind of less than what I thought of myself. And so we started an initiative to where it was Bulldogs Bringing Up Grades. So any student that showed grade improvement, whether it was from an F to a D or to a D to a C or on, you get the example, they got an award called Bulldogs Bringing Up Grades. And so we just recognized them to just give them that positive reinforcement, that push that they needed to get to the AB honor roll or to the all A's. And that's what you have to do in life, because most of these kids probably aren't getting that at home. So what can we do in the school to help them feel more positive about themselves and have that confidence they need to get to the AB honor roll or all A's?
I love that. That's so good. Thank you for sharing that. So, Daryl, what is something that you once believed about yourself that you found out later wasn't true?
I would say probably, even though I said that I'm determined, I would say that determination, you kind of are born with it. But I would say that I have probably have reached certain points of my life to where I'm like, oh, I don't think I can do it. I don't know. And then I think that determination had to be tweaked over the years, and I had to give myself the self-confidence needed. And, for example, when I didn't become the next state representative of the area, I think a lot of people thought that I was just going to cry and curl up and be like, oh, I'm done with politics. No, to me, I didn't care about being the state representative. I don't care about the title. I never did. I was running to just continue to serve our community in a different capacity. And when I didn't get the position, I told myself, you know what, that's just not where God wants me at this point in my life. Where else can I go to serve my community? And that's what I just kept doing. Then I think after that, like literally a week later or 2 weeks later, the city council, I got phone calls to do that. I didn't want to do it. I told people, no, I'm done. But they were like, no, we need you. So I was like, okay, whatever. I went for it, and I think I got top 2, and they picked somebody else. And the God didn't want me up there. And every day when I look at Flagler Live, I'm like, thank God I didn't get those. I'm like, thank God I'm not on the city council. But, God didn't want me there. And I think that there's just so much other things out there in life that I need to probably experience and gain more wisdom and meet more people and just work on myself, so that then when I do make that decision to come back and serve our community or serve somewhere else in a different capacity, I'm better equipped for it. So what was your...
Well, something that you once believed about yourself that you found out later wasn't true.
Yeah, and so after all of that, I would just say that me thinking that I didn't have the self-confidence, I would probably say I was a little insecure, and it's a little intimidating, that now going through all of those experiences, now I see in myself, you actually are much stronger than what you thought you were. Yeah. And all those obstacles proved that. How many people can say that they run for state representative, don't get it, and then do city council and don't get it, and still wake up every day to just serve the community? And so I think that that's what was proven through all of that.
That's a really powerful lesson, and it speaks to not only belief in yourself, but also showing yourself that you're capable of so much more, and that any time that something doesn't work out the way that you maybe had anticipated, that you can still look back and see that there was a lesson that came out of that, right. And you learn more about yourself and also more about what you really want to do versus what you don't want to do.
Correct.
So I think that's really remarkable that you have that self-awareness to be able to see that. I think that's very powerful. So I want to talk about questions here for just a moment. So it's been said that the quality of our questions impact the quality of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
So could you share with us one or two bigger questions that you're asking yourself today? Those big meatier questions. It could be about life. It could be about business. It could be about politics. It could be about anything, but things that you ruminate and contemplate on. Bigger questions. Just one or two.
Yep. I'd say the main question that I ask myself is, how can I better serve?
Okay.
How can I better leave an impact on this community? So many people like to complain, and so many people like to belittle the people that step up to the plate to serve and criticize them and accuse them of things that are just so bizarre. But I never see them step up to the plate. So you'll never see me, unless it's something that somebody's doing something that's unethical or they have no integrity, then you'll see me probably say something. But for the most part, you never see me saying anything negative about anybody. But I would say that I just always ask myself is, how can I leave a better impact on our youth and on our local community and our seniors and veterans? Because that's what we're all here to do, is make this place a better place than, what it was when we showed up.
Absolutely.
And if we're not doing that, then what are we living for?
That's a great question. Another question to be asking ourselves, right? So if you had the opportunity to have a conversation with any one person who's either living or no longer living, and you could ask that person any one question. I'm going to stay on the theme of questions here for a moment. So who would the person be who you'd want to have the conversation with? And secondly, what is the one question that you would want to ask of that individual? They can be living or no longer living.
Yeah. I'll probably say my grandfather. He's had the biggest impact on my life. And, he did 2 tours in Vietnam, and he was just always so positive, even though that him and my grandmother grew up very poor. He was just always so positive, and you would never know that they were poor growing up just because they were always so positive. And so that example of his positivity has really rubbed off on me, and I always try to be that for the younger people in my life. You never want them to know that you're going through something. You want them to grow up one day and be like, oh my God, I had no idea that they were poor, or they went through all of that, and they were always so positive to me. And so that's, really rubbed off. And so my question for him would just be, how did he keep his composure, and how did he keep a level head, and how did he always stay so positive? And hopefully, his answer would help me get some of that clarity on how I can better do that for myself as well.
What was your grandfather's name?
His name was Lee.
Lee.
Yep.
Okay. All right. And how old was Lee? Well, first of all, has he since passed?
He has, yes.
Okay.
And I don't remember.
Okay. All right. But did he have an opportunity to see the person who you've become?
He did. But unfortunately, he passed when I was an undergrad at UNF, and he was a big Knowles fan. And so I always told myself, I'm going to go to FSU, for a master's or something like that. And so he actually passed away before I got accepted into FSU. And so I never got to tell that to him. And so I was just so upset. I was like, God, I wish, he was here today to enjoy this, and we could go to a football game or something. And so it's just always taught me to just really cherish the moments. Sometimes we get so caught up and thinking of the future of what we want and who we want to be and the things that we want in our lives that we really forget about the present. And so I also wish I just enjoyed his presence more in my life, and probably shared with him that I was going to apply. I never did, because I wanted to save that moment for when I got accepted. So I wish he was here to experience that.
Well, no question. He is incredibly proud of who you are, how you show up, and how you live your life. You truly do have a remarkable outlook and such a bright future in front of you. And I want to thank you so very much for joining us today on Business Minds Coffee Chat. I really appreciate you sharing a bit of your story and just being the true wonderful person who you are, and I'm grateful for you.
Thank you for your time. It's always a pleasure.
Absolutely. It is my pleasure. And for all of you, thank you so very much for tuning in. And we will be back next Saturday morning at 8:30. And until then, my friends, keep learning, keep growing, and keep doing the work to reach your potential. Take care, all.